How is everyone?
Good.
So, shall we start off with some exciting news and share some fun? What's been going well and working well for everyone? Okay, I'll start calling on people. You better speak up. I know there's lots of good to be shared.
I have a workshop this Friday night, and she sold 14 kits, and I think we're supposed to have 11 people there to prep.
Woo-hoo.
That is awesome.
Oh my gosh. Like, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be like my third one where there's between 9 and 11, and I still don't know that I know how to do it with that many people. It's crazy town, but yeah.
It's going to go a lot faster with those new kits too. So you'll have to report back, Joanna, and tell us how it went.
Yeah. Well, it just depends. I'm about actually my to-do list. I have to tonight get an email. I'm going to go ahead and do an email out to everybody that ordered a kit just with some tips and tricks and reminders, because it's actually anyway, it's a long story on this vein of parties, but a lot of new people, which is cool. She's part of a group that's hosted. Somebody's in this group has hosted every 6 weeks, probably all year long.
Wait.
Hey, in that reminder, make sure and put download the app before they come to the party.
Oh yeah, okay.
So that'll help you get that done, and then really right at bag one, start your one-on-ones with people and check them out.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna need to do. I usually wait too long because I need to get going. Okay.
Yeah, bag one. I mean, literally show them how to do one, and then especially if you have veterans there, you can even have them take over the table and you just start calling on people.
Yeah, I'll need to see. I need to see how many of them have done it before. Surprisingly, I don't think there's going to be that many. Like, she found this whole new crew of people, which is awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to go with some exciting org news, and then we'll circle back around, and if anybody else wants to share some good news, we can do that. So for those of you that love numbers, our organization did 92,000 in org sales last month, guys. Yay! Way to go, guys. That's awesome.
That's about an average 1,300 families served. Just if you like it broken down that way. I love it. 1,300 families we've served.
Yes, love that. Okay, and are y'all setting down, because this is a huge number. We welcomed 59 new representatives to our organization last month.
Yay. That's awesome.
And like 20 of those are from Tegan.
Right.
God, that girl.
Well, on that note, there were several people that recruited this month, but you'll be able to see that on our monthly recognition for our organization. But Annie and Tegan had a whopping 10 and 11 recruits, guys. So wow, I just can't even. That's amazing, guys. Tegan, are you there?
I don't see Tegan on here.
Well, good job, Annie. That's fantastic. Way to lead the pack. And Tegan, if you're listening, whoop, whoop, to you too.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I just love that every single month we are adding team leaders to our team leader group, right? So last month we added 2, and this month we added 3. I'm just so excited. So shout out to Beth Ashby, Kimberly Wilkinson, and Melissa Sheldon.
Yay.
Yay, Melissa.
know.
That is so awesome. Congrats, guys. Okay, so let me clarify. That was they did their first month's team leader numbers. So when they do it again this month, which they're all set up to do that again, they will promote to team leader on December 1st and be paid as a team leader for the month of November. So fantastic, guys.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, so that's exciting org sales or org news. Who else wants to share some exciting news?
I have something. I've got something.
Yeah.
I have a customer who is expecting to sign up as a team member on Friday on payday, and that will be my third team member on my team.
Yay!
Yay.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Who else? You guys, I know there's lots of good stuff going on. Don't be afraid to speak up and share it.
Hey, I have the same news. My friend is signing up as my third team member. Unfortunately, her son is in the hospital with pneumonia right now, so we're just waiting for that to calm down, but I will have my third team member. Yay!
Yay! It's so nice when you get over that, 1, 2, and then on to 3 and 4, kind of like get in that groove and like, yeah, I can do this. I can recruit. Yeah. All right. Anybody else?
I'm excited because I have a friend who does not cook, period. I mean, her point of cooking is wiping down her stove. And she has seen me doing this, and she contacted me and she said, okay, I'm going to play with the app. And she sent me a list of recipes that she thinks that they would eat. We've actually set up a day that her and her 2 girls are going to come, and me and my girls and another friend of ours, we're going to teach her how to cook and put meals in the freezer. So I'm super, super excited about that.
That's so awesome. It's all about those, helping the individual and those small wins. That reminds me, Kelly's not on the call at all, is she? I can't see everybody, so.
I don't think so. That reminds me of Kelly, though. Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah.
Well, I can. She's probably
Kelly,
not going to put the kiddos to bed.
Yeah.
I tell her story a fair amount at vendor events and at workshops.
Okay, so tell it now so everyone can hear.
Well, this is my version, and it may or may not be that truth. It may be a little bit off, but basically Kelly didn't cook, didn't really know how to cook, was very uncomfortable in the kitchen, but she had 3 kiddos, and so she got invited by Jessie, right? Or she went to Jessie's party, and I think she called her mom a couple of times from the grocery store because she was having a hard time filling up the meal prep, getting the grocery list, and showed up, and anyway decided to join because she wanted to feel confident in the kitchen, and she needed to feed her family, and she wanted to do that. And so here she is 3 years later and 2 trips later and all that. So yeah.
And she just posted, I think, in her customer group the other day that she actually comes to find out she does like cooking. She didn't think she did, but come to find out she just didn't know how. And so I love that Wild Tree did that for her.
Yeah, I was at that party and she was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I hate cooking. I hate direct sales. Like when she signed up, I was so surprised. And she called her mom and she called Jessie and she was like, what is a flank steak? Like, what in the world is this supposed to be? So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, she was standing in the grocery store just like, I will never do this again. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
All right, anybody else want to share something fun, exciting you've got going on? Small win, big win?
My small win is I almost have the beanie.
Yay!
Yay! All right, so on that note, Annie, do you want to go over that?
Yeah, sure. The beanie this month, if you guys saw, Wild Tree is sponsoring this amazing little cute hat. I should have printed a picture, but it's adorable. Little beanie hat, and it's when you have 1,000 in sales and an increase of 10% over last month. Okay, so that's what you need to get it. So 1,000 in sales minimum, and then 10% over last month. So anyone who had over 1,000 in sales last month, you need 10% over that. So we can do it. Everybody can get a beanie. Even those that live in Florida. It's okay. You can travel and wear it on vacation somewhere cold. You can do it.
I should have ran numbers before the call, but has anybody earned it already?
I have not.
Jacqueline's close.
My new recruit has, Renee has.
Yeah.
Yay. That's sweet.
Oh, yeah, is that
Okay.
the girl Ashley, you said that just like sold $1,000 in like a day? My God. Awesome.
Yeah.
I do have to say some of it is she's doing a vendor event, so some of it was her because she has to get stocked for her first vendor event. But yeah, she did amazing. So I'm super proud of her.
That's awesome. So I guess along with that, we have our hosting special. So the company incentives this month, the beanie, and then a hosting incentive. So we don't always have a hosting incentive. So it's kind of exciting when we do. We always have hostesses that they'll host just to get that something extra, right? So when your hostess does 500 in sales, she'll get the garlic lovers set. Did you guys all see that? And so that party has to be closed in November, and then with 500 in sales, and she'll get the garlic lovers set. So if you know your host, you have potential hostesses that are past hostesses that you know just love that extra stuff, that extra free stuff, or people that love what's in that, the roasted garlic, the scampi, or the garlic and herb. If you have past customers that you know love those items, you can reach out to them and say, hey, I thought of you because we have a hosting incentive and you can get this for free just by hosting. So I'm sure there's lots of other ideas around using that to get bookings, but wanted to make sure we mention the company incentives. Did you want to add anything to that, Annie, on the host incentive?
No, I'm sorry. I am distracted with my child tonight. So it's been a long 24 hours with one of them. So, no, I mean, the hostess incentive, the only thing I'd say about that is get parties on your books right now. I mean, use that as a reason to get some parties on your books and host your own. I don't know if you said that. I had to step out for a second, but host your own party and get your own free set. Give it away as a gift, or do like a mystery hostess, and whoever places a $50 order or more towards their party gets all the hostess credit, including this extra special deal. So there's all sorts of things you can kind of do around it. So just think about, ideas that you might have, but use that as a gift to give away too. So
yeah, good. Okay, well, we're going to jump right into training then. So we did a little poll and to see what you guys wanted to hear about, and it was a pretty overwhelming that you guys wanted to talk about follow-up, right? So, and mainly follow-up from vendor events. So that's what we're going to talk about. How many of you guys, show of hands, are doing a vendor event or have done a vendor event this season? Yeah, okay, awesome. So 3 things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about, and if you didn't see my Facebook Live the other day, you might want to go back and listen to that. I talked about the conversation at the booth. So you can go back and look at that. But we're going to revisit setting up that follow-up at the booth. We're going to talk about how to follow up, and then what you actually say when you get them on the phone, okay? So on the live video the other day, I talked about moving them towards action, right? So your goal at the booth is to move them towards some sort of action, whether it's setting up a follow-up recruiting conversation call with you, or getting them on your calendar for hosting or a menu consult, or just giving you a customer care slip so you can talk later, right? So I just wanted to stress the importance of setting those up at the vendor event, so you're not playing that cat mouse game, right? How many of you guys play that cat mouse game and it's message? Yeah. So you want to do, like, sometimes people won't set that follow-up with you at the event, but if you ask, more of them will than won't, right? So let's do all we can at the vendor event to get those follow-ups set. Okay, so we've done what we can to get them set up at the event. Now we come home and we've got these slips of paper. And if you used my wording, we have come home with slips of paper that are truly interested people, right? So you say stuff like, if you just want more information, fill out my slip and I'll be in touch. If you just want more info, fill out my slip and I'll get you some info, right? So they know you're gonna follow up with them. So you come home, we're not gonna give away, we're not doing a drawing, so we're not filling out a slip to get a drawing or to get a prize, right? So we come home with interested people. So let's talk about the 222 of following up, and then we'll go into what you say if you get them out on the phone. So do you guys all know the 222 that I'm talking about? So say this is if you have to leave a message and assuming worst case scenario, you have to leave a message every single time you call them. And I want to point that out too. We're coming home and we're following up, and these need to be phone calls, guys, okay? We're professionals. We've talked a lot, if you're in the LEAD program, we've talked about that a lot, and how we handle ourselves as professionals and our outlook on our Wildtree career. So we're professionals, right? And they gave us their contact info because they truly want info, right? So we're not going to send them a text message. I don't even send an email to start with. I call them. So that's our goal, to get them on the phone as quickly as possible. So say you have your vendor event on a Saturday. That's when they mostly are. Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, and at the absolute latest Monday, you need to be making that first phone call, okay? So let's say we do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's your 222. So Monday you leave a message, and we're gonna leave mystery messages, and we can post those in the group. I'm not gonna go into the mystery messages a lot, but we're just not leaving too much info, just basically, hey, it's Jenny. I wanted to run something past you. Give me a call. You can reach me back at 816-785-2004. Okay? And we'll post, Annie, can you make a note so we can post the mystery messages so I don't forget that document? We have it all kind of outlined for you. Okay, so Monday we leave a message. After that, you can send a text or a personal Facebook message. We give them Tuesday as kind of a break. Wednesday, we're going to reach back out if we haven't heard back from them. Assuming we get voicemail again, we're going to leave another message and then send another text. Now, it's at that point that I normally hear back from people, but there's those occasions where I have to leave yet a third message. And so that would be on Friday. I see everybody writing, so I wanted to slow down. Okay, so 3 messages, and if you don't hear back from them after that, we're going to move them to couple of weeks down the road and repeat that process.
Can I add one thing right there, Jenny?
Please.
And you're probably going to say this next. So, but I always like to point out how important it is to do that 222 and give the example of when somebody calls you and it's a salesperson and it's not that important to you. If they call one time, most likely you ignore the phone call, or maybe it's just me, but I have done this before. And I did it, it's with the window cleaner guy. And he left me a message and I did not call him back and was like, it's just not that important to me. It's not my priority, right? So then about a month later, he calls again. And again, I just ignore it. I listen to the voicemail and do nothing about it. But that time he called me back 2 days later. And I was like, oh, he's going to keep calling until I call him back. And so that prompted me to return that phone call. And I thought, he's playing the same game I do. Oh, wait, this really makes sense to me now. Like, it finally sunk in. Like, this is super important. And the reason you do it 2 and 2 and 2 is really, really important. So we're not just kind of making this up. This is actually like a sales technique that this is what professionals do in the sales industry. And it makes a difference. Okay, because if you call one day and then call 2 weeks later and then you call one more time 2 weeks after that, and you're probably not going to hear back from them because in their mind, you don't really have a sense of urgency to get a hold of them. Whereas if you're calling every 2 days, they're going to be like, I better call this person back. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just like to point that out because I think it makes a big, big difference.
We were on another call. I can't remember what call it was. And I think it was Kathy said, when you call like that, the close calls back to back, you seem more professional and like you take your business seriously rather than somebody who calls once this week, once the next week, once a month from now. And that really hit me like, okay, so first we need to, check our mindset and see, do we think we're bugging these people or do we think we're being professional? But that really hit me like, yeah, if somebody calls me like once every blue moon, like once this week and then maybe a month from now and maybe 3 months from now, I'm probably going to wonder, are they really serious about, what they do and want me as a customer? So you guys, food for thought there, but that really hit home with me. So again, I think, so now let's talk about getting that person on the phone, right? What are we going to say when we get them on the phone? So again, I think it's important to check your mindset because remember, they gave you their info because they wanted you to follow up, right? They want information about Wild Tree. They didn't fill out that slip of paper and hand it to you and think, oh my gosh, I hope she doesn't contact me, right? So remember, it's hard to be nervous when our heart is on service. So we're going to follow up with these guys and help them with either their own business or cooking for their family, or, maybe we've got another Kelly on our hands, or, maybe somebody's eating, who knows what it's going to be. Okay. But we're going to have our heart on service, right? And then we won't be nervous. So I take a lot of notes when I'm at a vendor event, if I have time, on the people that I talk to, right? A memory jogger, like what color their shirt was, or something that we talked about that stood out, or just anything that's going to help me remember. Okay, so I want to say that I do take some notes while I'm there, and I recommend you guys do that. But no matter what I have written down on that slip of paper, I treat everybody the same when I call them. And that goes for what they've put on the paper too. So we have the customer care cards that they can mark what they're interested in hearing about. And I'm going to say the same thing to somebody that marks business opportunity as somebody that marks they just want to know about one-on-one menu planning. Okay, I'm going to start the conversation the same for everyone. And like this is great because you know what you're going to say when you pick up the phone. Like if you're treating everybody the same, there's none of that. And I don't know, maybe it's just me that does that, but before I kind of had this method, I would hem-haw before I picked up that phone, like, okay, what am I going to say if I have to leave a message? What am I going to say if they answer? You know, has anybody ever done that? It's just me. Okay, so knowing exactly what you're going to say, and you're going to say pretty much the same thing to everyone, that should alleviate some of that heaviness of the phone, right? Okay, so we're going to call them up. They answer. You do the pleasantries. Hey, it's Jenny with Wild Tree. Did I catch you at a good time? Do you have a minute to chat? Okay. They're going to answer. If they say, oh, no, actually, you caught me in the middle of blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. When's a good time to reach back out to you? And try to set a specific time. Okay. Don't feel like you have to hurry and rush and get off the phone. They answered. It's on them. Just continue to be professional. Oh, okay. When's a better time to reach out? Because remember, they gave you their info. They want to hear about Wild Tree. Okay. So assuming they say, yep, I've got a few minutes to chat, then you can, ask them about their day, or if it's that first call on the Monday after the vendor event, did you have a good time at the vendor event? You wouldn't want to call it vendor event. You call it by its name, like whatever it may be, holiday shopping spree, whatever. Ask them about that, or if there's something that you wrote down that they had going on, you can ask them about that. Just something to kind of break the ice and get the conversation going. Then after a few pleasantries, you can say, so could you remind me, like, were you new to Wild Tree when you stopped by my booth, or had you seen it before? Okay, so if they're new to Wild Tree, then you can say, awesome, I love sharing Wild Tree with new people. So tell me, kind of what stood out to you about Wild Tree? What stood out, or what piqued your interest, or what was the most exciting thing we talked about, or, how did you see it fitting into your life? There's any of those questions, and maybe some of you guys will have some better ones, but any of those questions that will help them talk about Wild Tree, okay? So that is super, super important. We have to get them talking about Wild Tree. So remember all those notes that I took about them, and I wrote down, we talked about a party, or I wrote down that she wants to learn more about the business opportunity, or whatever I wrote down. I'm not going to say to her, so we talked about booking a party. Do you want to go ahead and look at your calendar? Okay, no. We got to get her talking and excited. And that's going to go better if she talks about it rather than you talk about it. Like it's and Annie, if you have a better example, feel free to pop in. But say you guys are having a coaching call with your team leader, and she says, you told me you wanted to have 5 parties because blah, blah, blah. Or, so Jessica, tell me again why you wanted to have 5 parties. Can you guys see where it might be different? Okay. Anything you want to add there, Annie, on getting them talking? And you said something in our call earlier that was really good about.
So it's based on brain science, like proven brain science, that when the person speaks it, then they automatically believe it. So if they speak, like, if they answer Jenny's question, like, what were you most excited about with Wild Tree? Oh, I was thinking like my friends would really like it, and da 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 da, and they go on about that. Then Jenny's gonna say something about, oh, Well, it sounds like you'd at least want to host a party then, and have your friends over. Let's at least do that. And then Jenny's probably going to say some other stuff about being a rep because she's going to take it up one level and say, well, have you ever thought about the business opportunity? That's how the conversation will go. But when you get that person speaking, then they automatically believe that is truth versus you telling them, hey, it'd be great to get your friends together to have a party. It's very different than them saying it out of their own mouth. So that's why the questions that Jenny's posing that you ask them and getting them re-excited is so important, that you get them talking about it, not you talking about what they said.
It's also, if you've ever heard of the term push-pull energy, it's that concept too. So, and think about a conversation and how easier it's going to be on you if you're asking them questions, right? You don't have to come up with all the words. You just ask them questions. What did you like about Wild Tree? Now, if they don't right off the bat say, oh my gosh, I loved that rancher's dip, or oh my gosh, I loved that it was all natural. If they don't come right out and tell you what they liked, you might have to give them, a little nudge and say, so was it our Make Ahead kits that you liked? Did you like the all natural part? Did you, was there a particular product you liked? You might have to give them some memory joggers. And that's okay too, but just remember, then you got to be quiet and let them talk.
Can I add one thing?
So depending on how that comes.
Can I add one thing? So just think that when you go to a vendor event and you're a shopper, and depending on how big that vendor event is, how many different booths you stop at, and you may not remember everything, and especially if there's another food booth there. And so don't take it personally if they don't remember. That's why those notes that Jenny was talking about can be so helpful. If they made a comment like, oh, this dip is really good, I write down on their rancher dip, on their piece of paper, so that when I am talking to them, I can say, something about, oh, you stopped by my booth with Wild Tree, da, da, da. What did you really love about it? And they're like sitting there, and, you don't want them to ponder and feel dumb, because they can't remember, and say, oh, I think you really like that rancher dip, da, 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 and go from there. So it's really, really helpful to be very engaged when you're at your events and really taking those notes that Jenny talks about and helping cue that on.
Yeah. So then depending on what comes out when she's talking about what she liked about Wild Tree, because that might go right into talking about the business opportunity or getting a date on the calendar. It might go right into that. But if it doesn't, you can say, okay, so when I first share Wild Tree with somebody, whether it's at a vendor event or for the first time, I find that they fall into one of three groups. Can I tell you about those groups? And then we can kind of decide where you might see yourself starting out with Wild Tree. Okay, they'll say yes. You say, okay, so the first group of people is those that recognize that this is a great business opportunity, and they either want to jump right in or want more information on that, and earn money while they share Wild Tree with their friends. Then the second group is those that recognize that Wild Tree is going to really help them in the kitchen, and they know they've got friends that it could also help, and they want to invite their friends over so you guys can all learn about Wild Tree at the same time. Good thing about that is you get a free product for just getting your friends together for a fun night. And then the third group of people are those that just need Wild Tree in their kitchen now, and they want to do a one-on-one meal consult with me. And then I say, so here in those three different groups of people, where do you kind of see yourself? What are you more interested in? What would you like to hear more about? They'll answer, and then what is this called? The whale to fish analogy. You're going to go kind of up one level. So if we leveled them, recruiting, hosting, customer, meal consult, we're going to go up one level. So if they say, oh, I I just want to be a customer and purchase, and yeah, maybe we can do that meal consult. Then I'm going to say, okay, so ever think you'd want to get your friends together so you can taste more of the product and get some for free and share this with your friends too? Or if they say, oh yeah, that sounds like an absolutely fun night, I want to get my friends together, you can say, so do you have any questions about the business opportunity? Okay, so the theory there is that they are going to play it safe, and they are going to tell you kind of one below what they actually might do. And there's usually just some hesitations there, like the one I hear most often with they just want to be a customer, and then I say, so you don't think you'd ever want to host and share this with your friends and get some free product? They say, oh yeah, I would do that, but not right now. I'm like, oh, okay, that's no big deal. So when do you think you'd want to do that? And then they'll say something like, oh, well, like maybe December. I'm like, oh, okay, that works for me. I'm booking for December. Should we go ahead and compare calendars? So it's just a way for them to get their hesitation out, and let's just get more information on the table, right? Now, okay, so I'm going to stop for a minute, and that's kind of my flow, my outline for if I get them on the phone and they've never heard of WildTree before. You guys, I'm just going to open it up and see if you have any questions, because then I'm going to tell you what I say if they have heard of WildTree and they weren't new to WildTree. So any questions come to mind? Any thoughts? Is that helpful? Is that good?
Mm-hmm.
Did you say you have this written down and you're sending it, you'll be posting it?
No.
No? Okay. So
And
I've got to take better notes is what you're telling me.
Okay, so I've got my notes here. And I can't tell you how many
those suckers in, girl.
I know. I can't tell you how many times.
Scanned copies. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, Jenny, why don't we have Courtney tape it up for us?
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I will do that.
Shoot her that over.
Put that on a list for me somewhere.
Okay, I got it.
Remind me, Joanna, would you send me a message and say, have Courtney type that up? That's all you have to say to me, and I'll know exactly what you're talking about. Anybody, send me a message. And then if you all send me a message saying, have Courtney type that up, that's probably going to happen. So, okay, anybody want to say anything on that? Is that different from what you guys are doing now? Yeah, Kate, you better be shaking your head no. You better be doing it like this. Okay, so if they had heard of WildTree before when they came to the booth, we probably talked about that while they were there for a little bit. But if they still gave me their info and I'm following up with them, and then in our phone call I say, so remind me, were you new to WildTree or had you heard of us before? And they say, oh no, I'd heard of it before. So I'll say some things like, oh, well, tell me, do you use it now? Do you have a rep? Just try to get a little bit more info that way. And then so if they have been using it, you can ask them if they'd like to get their friends together and get some free product. But I really like to start with, so you might be the perfect person to help me. I was in that area, and so I don't know where everybody's from, but well, all over the place. But okay, so, and it doesn't really matter where you're at, but I do events all around the KC metro area. So I can say, so the reason I was in Olathe is because that's a very untapped area for WildTree. We really need reps in that area. Would you be willing to help me out with something? Can I pick your brain for a minute? And then you can say, and they'll say, well, sure. So I'm working with you can say your director or your VP of sales. I say I'm working closely with my VP of sales to really grow the Kansas area. And where you can come in and help me out is you can help get me connected, because I live way over on the Missouri side and I don't have that many connections in Olathe. I'm looking for a specific type of person. Can I tell you what kind of person I'm looking for? They'll say yes. So I'm looking for someone who maybe hates their day job and needs an exit strategy. Or I'm looking for someone who's a stay-at-home mom and needs to get out of the house. Or I'm looking for that person that's well connected in your community and known for getting stuff done. I mean, we could go on and on and on. You only want to list a few, and I'll say, so when I say that, who comes to mind? And that's really important. Like, not who do you know, or, can you get back to me with some names? But when I say that, who comes to mind? So that's where I like to start with someone that has heard of WildTree, has used it. It's a great segue. You might be the perfect person to help me, since they already know a little bit about WildTree. And then I'll ask them, oh, okay, who specifically are you thinking of? Could you connect us on a 3-way text? I'm going to make it super easy for you. I'll send you the text that you can connect us with. And then you can say, so how's mealtime going for you? Could you use some new dinner ideas? Do you think you have some friends that are struggling with dinner? And you can go for that booking. So you can not only get the recruiting referral, but you can see how their dinner time is going too. Okay, how are we doing on time? Any thoughts or questions on that piece of it? Or anything you want to add, Annie?
No, I love your verbiage. This is so good. I love it. I think it's fantastic.
So specifically that was for vendor events, but I just kind of want to give you a tip on when I'm following up with just about anybody. I use that same, remind me what you liked about WildTree. So, whether it's a customer care call and you're following up to see how they like their meals or the products that they bought, or the recipes you sent them, or the recipes they picked out on the app, whatever it may be. You can say everybody likes WildTree for a different reason. Could you tell me why, remind me why you like WildTree, or how does it help you the most? Again, you're just getting them talking, and it's a much smoother, friendlier conversation. So I think that is about it, unless you guys have questions. I mean, we can, if you have some specific scenarios, we can talk about those. Or did I forget anything, Annie?
No, I don't think so. I think we got it all. I was taking notes. It's awesome.
I would speak up from, I would definitely say make sure that you take notes. So, I use those cards that got posted this, a couple weeks ago, and I'll turn around and I'll write on the back, kind of when they walk away. Or if they're there and you take notes, just say, hey, do you mind if I take a couple notes? Don't worry about it. I want to be able to remember when I get home and we connect again next week. But I've wrote down anything from tall blonde who was there with her friend Annie, or so-and-so and so-and-so came together. Some of that I make those connections, because a lot of times that helps with that conversation to also say, well, hey, you and your friend Danny came up, you guys were talking about being gluten-free, or she was concerned about this, and it kind of helps jog my memory, because sure, I've got a couple of names and I'm like, I don't remember these people. But I also see, oh, well, I didn't really write any notes either. Because when I was talking to him, I'm like, oh, I'm sure I'll remember, but I don't. So definitely take notes. Whatever is going to help jog your memory, I recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
I do the same thing for cash and carry. I use the order forms and have them fill out their information at the top. And then I typically can remember them based on what they order or what they buy. And then I take notes on that as well and use those for follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions you guys have? Or
Okay, I have a question. What if in that conversation and you were asking a person and then they said, yes, I have a rep, or I've been buying it for a long time and I just buy from some random person? I mean, how do you follow up, or what do you do at that? Then is it just a dead, I'm done kind of thing, or how do you handle that?
well, if they have been using it for a while, I'll say, oh, who's your rep? And do you have a rep that you stay in touch with?
Mm-hmm.
And some people are like, oh, I just buy at these random events, or I don't really have a rep. No, I don't hear from anyone. I'll say, okay, I would love to be your rep.
Mm-hmm.
And that is partly why I asked that question. You know, do you have, or so have you heard of WildTree? Yes. Are you using it? You know, who's your rep? Because if they do have a rep that stays in touch with them and they get regular emails and contact from them, then I'll say, oh, that's fantastic. Annie's amazing. I know she's going to take really great care of you.
Yeah.
And do you have any questions for me while you have me on the phone? And then I'll shoot Annie a message and say,
Mm-hmm.
or, you know, most of the time they'll say no, but if they do have a question, go ahead and answer that question and then say, well, you know, it was nice to meet you. I know Annie's going to take great care of you, and, you know, thanks for taking my call. Have a great day. And then I'll send Annie a message and say, hey, Annie, you know, ran into so-and-so. You might be a great time to follow up if you haven't in a while. So we do want to be respectful of other people's customers, but if they are just buying from random people at vendor events and they're not being followed up with, and they don't know, then I think it's okay to go ahead and say, I'd love to be your rep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'd even say that goes for people like being supportive of each other, not on our team, even if we don't know who their rep is. And we can't shoot them a message, depending on your conversation. Like if somebody says, oh, I'm interested in the business, you know, the first question I ask is, oh, do you have a rep that you're working with? Oh, yeah, I do. And you may not know them, but get their name anyway, and then reach up to your team leader or to director so that we can make sure it all gets connected, so that we're not stepping on each other's toes. It just creates yuckiness if that happens. And sometimes it happens and it's out of our control. It's happened to me, and I've been on both sides of it, where I thought I was covered and the person who was signing up had talked to the other rep and I thought I was covered, and there was a misunderstanding. And then it's been on the other side where I've had someone sign up one of my customers as their rep, you know, so I've been on all sides of it, and it will be if you stay in this business long enough. It'll just happen to you. And you just have to, you know, live with grace and know what goes around comes around. It all works out in the end. And, you know, I don't think any of the situations were intentional on anybody's part, but we do want to try and just be, you know, cautious when that happens and respectful. of each other, and even for people who aren't on our organization. So,
yeah. And also, I mean, with our 4 months active period now, there's a good chance that their rep or whoever they bought from isn't even around anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's good to ask those questions and find out, because we do want them to be followed up with, right? And if they're a good customer, we want to make sure they're getting good customer service. Great question, Ashley. Any other questions? It doesn't have to be just about events either. It can be anything you guys have run up against that you've got a captive audience. You better ask us now.
Just to recap on that last question, I met a girl at an event 2 years ago, and she told me she had a rep. I didn't know the rep, and then it was my hometown, so I just kept in touch with her to make sure that she was taken care of. And I checked with Annie last year, Annie and Whitney, and found out, because I asked her what her rep's name was, and we found out that her rep indeed did go inactive. And so then that gave me the go-ahead to keep staying in touch with her, and she's having a party. Her kids have special needs, so she was supposed to do it months back, and it hasn't happened yet, but she's going to have one in January now. So she approached me this last weekend, and she said, okay, I think I'm finally ready to get it on the books. So by following the right steps, you can still make things work out, and
yeah, good.
Work out if it's supposed to be.
Anybody else? I don't know if we had any other announcements we were going to do, but we did want to just talk about briefly showcasing Wild Tree through the holidays. There's lots of family gatherings, with Thanksgiving and even Christmas parties starting up. So, I mean, that's a great time to bring Wild Tree, right? Your Wild Tree rep, your dish should be a Wild Tree dish, right? So not that you're going to be selling to the whole family on Thanksgiving dinner or any of your Christmas parties, but it's going to be an awesome dish, right? And they're going to ask you about it. And you can make a mental note until you get home, and then make a physical note, because if you don't, you'll forget. But then you can follow up with that person later. Like maybe it's, I don't know, somebody you hadn't talked about Wild Tree before, maybe it's somebody you had, but it's just a great time to revisit after they've tasted it. But we definitely just wanted to put that plug out and make sure you guys are using Wild Tree in your holiday dishes. Mm-hmm. And at all your holiday gatherings. Any other announcements we need to go over, Annie? I think that's it right now.
Yeah, go for the beanie. I mean, I've been encouraging everyone to make sure they have a goal for the month. Make sure, everyone's goal is going to look different. For some people, it may be $4,000 in sales so they can get the beanie hat because they had 3,000 something last month, For others, it may be $1,000 in sales so they can get that beanie hat. So just make sure you have a goal that you're going after, and you're not just out there kind of floundering like, oh, I'll have a party if it happens. That's not what we want to do. We want to make a goal, have it written down, make it happen, make a plan, work the plan. That's what I got to say. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
And if you haven't heard enough from me on vendor events, you can tune in Tuesday to the Wild Tree call. I'm going even more in depth, or if you just want to hear it again on vendor events.
Yeah.
Keep me back there. Okay, guys, have a great night, and we'll see you back here next month. Same time, same place, first Tuesday of the month, 8:30.
Bye, everybody.
Here's to an awesome November.
Thank you.